A flea market is like a lottery where a ticket costs $1 and the winnings can get up into the tens of thousands. Today, I'm going to tell you about some flea market finds that turned their owners' lives upside down. Ready to have your mind blown? For Randy Guajaro, an ordinary garage sale marked the beginning of the end of his life in poverty. Having bought 3 photographs for $2, he spotted Billy the Kid, the infamous American outlaw, in one of them. To confirm the photo's authenticity, experts conducted a comprehensive investigation, from facial analysis to finding the specific ranch where the men in the picture were playing croquet. And guess what? This photo was the original, ultimately selling for $2.3 million at auction, and all of that on an investment of just $2. The purchase of an old filing cabinet nearly turned into a crime scene when a woman discovered a .38 caliber Iver Johnson pistol inside. But thanks to the engraving on it, which read Captain John Straczynski, sheriff's deputies were able to quickly identify the weapon's owner as the legendary captain of the Akron, Ohio Police Department. They even managed to track down his granddaughter. It turned out she had spent her entire life collecting as much of her grandfather's memorabilia as she could. So the $15 filing cabinet gave the woman something priceless, a living history of her family. A vintage dresser from the 1890s cost Emile Nodell less than $100, but its true value was staggering. Hidden beneath a false bottom was a secret drawer chock full of emeralds, diamonds, and wads of old currency. Among the valuables were the personal belongings of a Marine, including his dog tags. This incredible collection of artifacts was eventually reunited with the veteran's grandson, and Emile got his special dresser, with an incredible story to boot. This once ceremonial weapon of Wehrmacht generals sold for just $10 at a flea market. That's right, I'm talking about the Heeresdolch. This 1935 model dagger was the epitome of military prestige. Its recognizable silhouette with its grooved hilt and imperial eagle on the guard is now a collector's item. Those preserved with their metal scabbard and braided lanyard are considered especially valuable. A complete set in good condition is valued at approximately $2,000. In the US, everyone knows the true value of the Purple Heart medal, so when one Goodwill employee spotted it among some merchandise, he knew it shouldn't be there. The story instantly spread online, and thousands of concerned people joined the search for the hero's family. The news eventually reached a woman named Donna Ladonio. It turned out that the medal belonged to her uncle, Nick D'Amelio Jr., who served on the submarine USS Little during World War II. Decades later, this priceless award passed through many hands, only to finally come back home with Nick's spirit. And yes, collectors are still willing to pay over $5,000 for such a beauty. If you see a ceramic bowl at a garage sale, grab it without thinking twice. It could be a unique 10th century Chinese relic worth over $2 million. That's exactly what happened to one lucky man. His find had been gathering dust in a cupboard for 6 years until, out of curiosity, he showed it to appraisers. It turned out that there were only 2 such cups in the world, one in his possession, the other in a British museum. Talk about luck. There are 2 types of people, those who look at this and see nothing more than a $26 garden ornament, and those who recognize it as a unique, small-caliber cannon from the 13th century, a rare example of early firearms. One gardener accidentally found this piece of iron at a flea market and, out of curiosity, sent it off for an analysis. As a result, the garden trinket instantly increased in value and was auctioned off for $3,400. This is a $30 million Fabergé Imperial Easter egg. And this is the face of the flea market seller who sold it for just $14K. An American bought the egg to melt it down for gold and make a few hundred extra bucks, but that plan changed when he happened upon a random Google article about the missing Romanov treasure confiscated by the Bolsheviks back in 1917. The attached photo was a dead ringer for his artifact. You can imagine what happened next. With that kind of money, he's probably living in the lap of luxury somewhere in the Bahamas. A woman named Jessica Vincent felt drawn to a $4 glass vase not only because of its vibrant stripe, but also by the tiny letter M on the bottom. She assumed it was the symbol of Murano, the legendary island of Italian glassblowers, and she was right. After posting a photo on Facebook, it turned out she had stumbled upon a work by Italian architect Carlo Scarpa. Auction appraisers were so impressed with the find that within days they found a private collector who bought the 1940s artifact for $107,100. Laura Young from Texas walked into a thrift store with $35 in her pocket and walked out with an ancient Roman general. It later turned out to be a portrait of Sextus Pompey, over 2,000 years old. In the 19th century, this bust had been kept in the collection of Bavarian King Ludwig I at Pompeyanum, his exquisite replica of a Roman villa. During World War II, the villa was damaged by bombing and the bust disappeared, apparently taken as a souvenir in the backpack of some American soldier. But after its rediscovery in the modern day, the relic was officially handed over to Germany. This guy will never forget this garage sale. While sifting through a bunch of boxes and junk, he suddenly spotted it, a '66 Mustang GT, an icon of American style that made the world fall in love with speed. A V8 powered GT is a rarity these days, even at closed auctions, and although the man didn't buy it, the very sight of such a legend, let alone in an ordinary yard, felt like a gift in itself. Imagine buying a painting for only $5 only to discover that it had been painted by David Bowie himself. Well, that's exactly what happened in Ontario, Canada. And yes, it's as incredible as it sounds. The real aha moment came when the painting was flipped over. On the back was Bowie's signature, along with a tag with his name and the year the painting was created. This tiny detail skyrocketed the find's value, fetching its lucky owner a whopping $88,000. A woman named Anna Lee Dozier was drawn to a particular vase for two reasons: its unusual painted design and a price tag of just $3.99. It would have been a classic story of a lucky find at Clinton's thrift store, except for one thing. The vase turned out to be an ancient Mayan relic. Anna's hunch came when she realized she had seen similar exhibits in a Mexican museum. She decided to approach the embassy about the discovery, and to her surprise, they confirmed it. The woman, who just wanted to put together a nice flower arrangement, had actually been keeping an over 2,000-year-old artifact at home for years. "You're a spy, Harry," is what Destiny told this young man when it brought him to the Tessina 35. It's the smallest 35mm camera ever made, about the size of a matchbox. It's exactly the kind of camera CIA or Stasi agents hid in their shirt pockets or wore on their wrists, disguised as watches, so they could quietly film everything around them. Despite the microscopic negatives, the quality of the lenses allowed for printing clear, large photographs. The chances of finding such a rarity at an ordinary flea market are 1 in a million. This woman must have saved the world in a past life or something, because first, she was given 2 couches completely for free, and then she found $36,000 in cash inside one of them. When she told the furniture's former owners this, they weren't even surprised. Turns out they too had started finding stashes of money all over their late father's house, but they had no idea why it had been hidden like that. The woman ultimately returned the cash and received a reward of $2,200 for her honesty. A flea market vendor was giving away these bullets for cheap because he was sure they were fakes. Hey, dear sir, if you're watching this, please know that this artifact is over 100 years old and its real value is 500 times more than the price you quoted. Have a nice day. In 2024, volunteers at a Goodwill in Pennsylvania stumbled upon a 14-karat golden ticket, a limited edition Lego Kanohi How mask. Only 30 of these limited edition pieces were released back in 2001. 25 of them were given away by company employees, 4 were won in a contest, and 1 was apparently transported back in time so that someone could auction it off for $18,100 20 years later. Goodwill, by the way, donated the proceeds to charity. A simple $50 purchase in Minnesota turned into the biggest art sensation of the decade. Some unknown person donated a painting executed in Van Gogh's signature impasto technique to researchers, who then spent years learning everything they could about it. They analyzed the handwriting on the back, which resembled signatures on the artist's famous still lifes, and even conducted DNA testing on a red hair found in the paint. After 4 years of investigation and $30,000, the final verdict was that it was, in fact, a Van Gogh original. The enormous 427-page work settled the controversy, although the story of how exactly the painting ended up at a garage sale remains a mystery. Students don't shop at thrift stores because they're poor. No, they do it because they know that's where you go to get rich on the cheap. Talia Rappa and Skyer Ashworth proved it when they found 5 NASA flight suits at the bottom of a bin for just 20 cents each. According to experts at the American Space Museum, the names and flight dates on the white tags match the period when astronauts Nelson, Parker, and Walker flew shuttle missions in the 1980s. That means these suits saw space, and perhaps aliens, with their own eyes. These items are worth at least $5,000 each at auction. Is it possible to buy an original Picasso poster for the price of an iPhone on Temu? Zachary Bodish's $14 says yes. The man realized he was holding a rare treasure after noticing a tiny inscription in red pen on the edge of the sheet. Experts confirmed it was the artist's signature. The poster is now valued at $6,000, and Zachary is feeling lucky. Terry Diebold bought a true myth at a sale for $75. At least that's what the gaming community called the Nintendo PlayStation for years. This console was the result of a failed collaboration between the two giants, Sony and Nintendo. Of the approximately 200 prototypes produced, almost all were destroyed. Diebold's unit is believed to be the only surviving working prototype in the world. That's why it sold at auction for an impressive $360,000. Who would have thought that simply cleaning out your house could bring in nearly $200,000? Well, a New Hampshire woman finally decided to sort through her old stuff and posted a photo online of a dusty painting she'd once bought for $4. Art critics immediately recognized the so-called cheap piece as an original by the famous illustrator N.C. Wyeth. What was almost destined for the landfill became the auction's top lot, which ended up selling for an incredible $191,000. My Roman Empire is the story of someone who donated a copy of The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire and forgot they'd left $4,000 tucked inside. Its owner might have faced a real decline and fall if the kind woman who found the money hadn't returned it to him. An unusually beautiful frame immediately caught the eye of a woman strolling through a flea market. She was planning to cut out the painting it contained, but her mother advised her to get the item appraised first. That's when things got interesting. The $7 junk turned out to be an authentic Renoir painting titled Paysage Beau de Zen, worth approximately $100,000. Since 1951, this work had been considered stolen from the Baltimore Museum of Art. How such a valuable piece ended up on the market remains a mystery to this day. Sean and Ricky McAvoy bought a jersey with the word West Point written on it at a thrift store for just 58 cents. 5 months later, while watching a documentary about the Green Bay Packers coach at home, it suddenly struck them. Is this the same piece of clothing? The answer came from a tag inside, where Vince Lombardi's name was written in ink. After authentication experts examined every seam and fabric type of the sweater, the results were disappointing. But only for those who sold the treasured jersey for next to nothing, as the couple fetched a staggering $43,020 for it at auction. The heroine of this story bought a painting for $8, which later fetched her 400 times the asking price. It turned out she had found a rare work by Brummet Echohawk, a renowned Native American artist from Oklahoma, and it's incredible. Buying an old vending machine doesn't sound all that crazy when you see something like this. Is there a portal to a bank vault inside or what? 11 rings and 2 medallions traveled 1,500 years from the Roman Empire to British Columbia to finally end up on a second-hand store shelf under the modest price tag of $30. How fortunate that an archaeologist happened to be passing by the display case and immediately recognized their true value. He promptly advised the store owners to submit the artifacts for examination, which confirmed their authenticity and dated them to the transition from antiquity to the Middle Ages. And that's how the local museum acquired these new, unique exhibits. This pig looked suspicious from the start, and no wonder. Inside, it contained 8 tied-up plastic bags, each filled with $2,028 in cash. And that's despite the fact that it was being sold for only $11. Talk about an unexpected return on investment. You can find all sorts of things at flea markets, sometimes even weapons for the fleas. Rumor has it that this piece belonged to a master watchmaker and gun enthusiast from Bern. Due to a hand condition, he could no longer work with large mechanisms, so he switched to miniatures. He spent years creating each pistol and even developed his own miniature bullets, which are harmless but capable of a very real shot. You have to admit it, it's quite impressive.
I feel like I'm gonna break this damn thing.
Finding a little money in an old sweater is always nice, especially when it amounts to $42,000. That's exactly the surprise that awaited a thrift store employee while they were sorting clothes. Someone accidentally donated their documents along with the money, so the woman didn't hesitate to track down the owners and return every penny. What would you have done if you were her? Tell us in the comments. Some lucky guy found a coffin at a flea market. Fortunately, it was empty and truly unique. A Fisk metal coffin was the most popular purchase among Americans in the 1850s. The sarcophagus was completely sealed, keeping out odors and dangerous pathogens. This was especially important during a time of cholera, fever, and complete unsanitary conditions. There aren't many of these around anymore. They're rare to see even in museums, so the fact that this example ended up at a market stall instead of underground is truly incredible. This guy found something at a flea market that photographers of the 1930s would have sold their souls for. A Leica II. This was the first camera with a built-in rangefinder. Before it was invented, photographers either had to guess distances by eye or spend ages trying to get things in focus. Sometimes the real treasures can be found not at flea markets, but in your own home. The person who recorded this video was lucky enough to find an authentic trench lighter from the early 20th century in his attic. These devices were a lifesaver for soldiers during World War I, as they worked in any weather thanks to a windbreak and allowed for one-handed operation. Today, items like this can fetch $50 or more at auction. What do you think of this story? A Chinese man decided to visit his great-grandfather's house for the first time in 60 years and found an abandoned J-6 fighter jet in the yard. He asked every neighbor in the area, and they all agreed the plane had always been there. Only the oldest gentleman in the village was able to nod knowingly and say, "Oh, that's Pilot Chen. He said he'd come home. He did." The old man never explained who Chen was, but the great-grandson decided to keep the fighter jet in the yard as a souvenir. Did you happen to hear someone shouting for joy outside yesterday? If so, it was probably this person who found a German Luftwaffe watch at a flea market. Acquiring an artifact like this for your collection is nearly impossible because during World War II, they were issued to pilots strictly for the duration of their missions only. Despite the rarity of such a find, this seller turned out to be a true expert. He has a whole series of watches from that era. Just take a look at that photo. It looks like he has a secret portal back to that era. Alexander is the owner of a unique fleet of 5 snowmobiles that he spent years searching for on forums and yard sales. These propeller-powered all-terrain vehicles were designed for use in the harsh northern climates and icy wilderness. Only 800 of these units were ever produced, and they were issued primarily to government agencies. That's why finding them in stores is difficult, but Alexander is trying his best to bring this nearly forgotten masterpiece of engineering back to life. "Is that a grenade?" one man exclaimed when he saw a Type 91 at a flea market. After he was reassured that it was inert, he bought it on the spot. Fear aside, finding a Type 91, especially in such an unassuming place, is truly a rare occurrence. Most Japanese grenades were either used in combat or destroyed after Japan's surrender in 1945. In the US, an original in good condition can cost between $350 and $600. Who could pass that up? No wonder I only find junk at flea markets. This woman's attracting all the good stuff like a magnet. Consider the fact that she was able to buy 5 vases for just $20 and then resold them for an incredible $11,000. I don't know how that's possible, but I can only applaud her luck. Jealously. At first glance, this looks like an old camera. That's exactly what this woman believed until she took it home. What she had actually found was a vintage musical compact, a cleverly designed, luxurious accessory. Inside was a powder case, a lipstick holder, and a compartment for cards or cigarettes. And then, the real surprise, a built-in music box that turns a simple gesture into a performance. Now that's a discovery with character. I don't know how many affirmations this guy sent out into the universe, but he somehow managed to find the chandelier of his dreams at a regular flea market. Not only is it perfect, but he got it for half the market price. Hurry and leave a comment telling me what I should meditate about so I can get my luck up. Maybe the universe is just waiting for me to make contact. You might be skeptical about the documentary The Secret, but the power of thought really does work. I mean, the woman behind this video spent 2 years trying to find a vintage Dutch wall coffee grinder at auctions and then casually stumbled across one at a flea market for $11. Coincidence? Yeah, sure. Or maybe not. Collectors get why this woman's so happy, because she unearthed a true treasure, a Victrola VV440 consort. It's the perfect instrument for playing vintage 78 RPM records, delivering not just sound, but the true effect of having a jazz orchestra in the room with you. what we have here isn't just an antique, it's a mechanical triumph of the last century, which can be valued at over $1,000 today. An anthropologist went into a thrift store to buy some clothes, but instead ended up calling the police. Why? Well, because he found a real human skull on the shelf. Investigators discovered that the rare specimen had arrived at the store with a shipment of merchandise several years earlier and had been gathering dust in a warehouse ever since. A forensic expert also confirmed that the discovery had no criminal history. On the contrary, the skull belonged to a very ancient human and could be the key to new discoveries in human evolution. What a twist! Would you buy a painting that looked like a hungover monkey? Well, Karen Mallet did. She found this strange piece among the old junk at Goodwill and paid just $12 for it. A small caption at the bottom hinted that it might be an original by a local artist, but the reality turned out to be much more intriguing. It's a work by Alexander Calder himself. This abstract masterpiece is now valued at $9,000, and they say it could go even higher from there. Have you ever bought a bracelet at a thrift store and later discovered it was a 190-year-old relic worth $25,000? Oh, well, that's what happened to Jessie Penn. The bracelet, which she had purchased as ordinary costume jewelry, turned out to be an early Victorian piece. It's made of 18-karat gold and is considered a rare Swiss cantonal piece. Just how do they do it? I want to too! Even an empty tin can can hide a true treasure, and every secondhand store employee knows this. Recently, one of the employees discovered a false bottom in an old box that had held certificates and an unknown soldier medal for years. His family had no idea these items even existed. When they received a call about the discovery, they were genuinely surprised, but also delighted, because this was the only memento they would ever have of their late father. A Dior piece, a flea market stall, and a $6 price tag. It sounds like a pitch for the next A24 indie movie, but it's actually the true story behind this video. The purchase was met with widespread skepticism, even from authentication professionals. Yet, once the jewelry was verified to be real, all doubt gave way to envy, and it's not hard to see why. It all began in 1980, when a woman bought a glass ring at a flea market for just $10. 30 years later, and financial difficulties forced her to take the jewelry to an appraiser in hopes of getting at least $100. Then comes the climax. The stone turns out to be a genuine diamond, so rare that Sotheby's immediately picks it up and sells it for a staggering $850,000. Now, poverty is a thing of the past for this woman, and she has begun a completely different life. This is a true story, by the way, not a Hollywood movie script. This find turned out to be the Voice of Freedom, an original newspaper issue from the birth of the United States. Its uniqueness lies in the legendary emblem of the severed snake, which called on the colonies to rebel against Britain even before the war began. It's not just old paper, but a living portal to 1774, and today, collectors are willing to pay up to $16,000 for this piece of history that was found among junk. Max the cat accidentally helped his owner get richer by the thousands. It all started at a thrift store when Grace spotted a painting of a cat that bore a striking resemblance to her pet. She bought the canvas for next to nothing and shared the find on social media. Things took an unexpected turn when one of her followers gave Grace a ticket to an antique show and recommended that she take the painting to an expert. The appraiser was surprised to realize it was an original Charles Craig from the late 19th century. However, he immediately noticed that the image of the cat had been added later. Despite this, the painting was still valued at nearly $2,000. It's the year 2000. Nick Norsigian buys 65 photographic negatives for $45, having no idea that their value would one day reach hundreds of millions. How could this happen? Well, ask Ansel Adams. The renowned 20th century landscape photographer worked in darkrooms and once claimed that his early works were destroyed in a fire in 1937. But Norsigian is convinced that the negatives he acquired are the lost originals, and he's supported by photography experts who have spent years examining these materials. Only Adams' heirs disagree, calling the whole story a fraud. What do you think? At a flea market in Pennsylvania, a man bought a painting for $4, drawn to it primarily for its beautiful frame. While unpacking the purchase at home, he noticed a folded, yellowed sheet of paper inside. Upon unfolding it, he couldn't believe his eyes. He was holding one of 25 copies of the original 1776 edition of the United States Declaration of Independence. Experts also confirmed the document's authenticity. Any and all remaining doubts were dispelled when the document sold at auction for $7.4 million. Chandler West bought a Cartier handbag for just $1. It wasn't a Chinese knockoff either. It was a vintage Art Deco original from the 1920s. To find out the bag's origins, the woman consulted a local jeweler. He noticed that the clasp was adorned with genuine lapis lazuli and 12 small diamonds, and that the Cartier markings appeared authentic. Well, what followed was exactly what you would expect. An online auction, super excitement, and $9,450 in the bank. This bread box was being sold for just 99 cents because it was broken. And the reason it wouldn't open? Wait for it. Stacks of cash. A whole bunch of $1 bills were literally jamming the mechanism. Honestly, if I had $4,452 hidden inside me, I probably wouldn't want to open either. It seemed like an ordinary vase from a flea market, but when one woman brought it home, what was hidden inside made her heart sink. Human hair, a piece of rope, charred sticks, a nail, and folded paper with some symbols on it. It was a witch's bottle, an ancient object used for rituals and spells. I knew flea markets could be magical, but seeing a wing from a 1940s US Air Force plane is truly surreal. How did such a significant piece of history end up among a bunch of ordinary junk? There has to be a plot worthy of a detective story behind it, probably one that shouldn't be delved into. Oxfam bookstore staff have seen plenty of strange donations, but this one outdid them all. Ladies and gentlemen, a first edition Bible translated into Chinese. At first, it was written off as just another old book and put up for sale with a low starting price. But when the bids began to soar, the team was speechless. Instead of the expected $500, the lot went under the hammer for an incredible $73,000. Can you imagine? Well, folks, the flea market hours are over, and so is today's episode. Feel free to share in the comments if you've ever found anything valuable in places like this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm gonna hop over to Goodwill. Bye!